Hello and welcome to our next movie review of Dark Knight Rises. I'm David Leonard.
I'm Batman.
And I'm John Leonard.
And we're going to start at this point with the Aurora, Colorado mass shooting. Our hearts and prayers go out to those victims and those friends and family of those who were 12 dead and 59 wounded. The largest mass shooting in the U.S., and we still don't really know why. Apparently authorities are trying to get into the guy's apartment, and it's rigged with booby traps, so they can't even figure out what's going on in that terrible situation. Bombs and so on and so forth. And that he called himself the Joker as well, so I don't know. Anyways, we'll get into the actual film itself. We were watching it in IMAX. A lot of it was about half and half in terms of IMAX scenes that were shot versus normal scenes. At least
That's
from what I
about
could
the
tell.
same as it was in The Dark Knight. Pretty
Yeah.
much the big action scenes were
Action
IMAX.
scenes, and there were some discussion scenes and stuff that, if there wasn't a whole lot of just walking around and lots of big shots, it worked really well. I mean, obviously the main reasons they couldn't do the whole thing is because it's a large setup, it's very expensive to film, and it's very loud, a camera. So they had to redub most of the audio if they do anything in regards to that. But I mean, the way I looked at it is a lot of people thought that there was a slight cut between widescreen and full screen. But, it's like maybe like a foot on top and bottom. And that's how much, extra footage it showed. But in reality, it was like looking at a retina display. There were some scenes like the dance scene between Bruce Wayne and Catwoman where you could see the pixels and stuff like that. You could see the discoloration. That there were certain effects and things that made it look pixelated and blurry. Whereas the stuff that was filmed for IMAX was crisp, clear like a retina display. And that was the reason to watch it. That wasn't really showing it anymore. It was just showing it really crisp and clear. So I was really impressed by that. If you want to start talking just about the film itself, plot points, and what you thought of it.
I was going to say about the whole IMAX to regular, though, with just that you really have to turn your whole body, don't you?
You really do. You really
Yeah.
do. You cannot just turn your head.
Wow.
No, you really got to turn your whole body.
I'm so
I was
sorry
sitting
for
dead
that.
center.
Yeah.
I strategically picked my point so I could just see the entire screen with just turning my eyes and not have to turn anything else. And so I had the perfect spot.
Yeah. But what I was going to say, though, was that, I was still so engrossed in the story, the dialogue, everything that was happening in it, that if it, when it was going between the standard to the, IMAX versions, I didn't even pay attention to that. It was seamless enough for me that it didn't affect the viewing of it at all. It was all good.
I never noticed that either. If you're watching, even on, Blu-ray, if you're watching, The Dark Knight on Blu-ray, it goes from, 2.35 to, 1.79, the obviously being the IMAX, the taller one, and you really, when you're into the movie, you don't notice the aspect ratio switching.
And in fact, we're probably, sort of gotten used to it because there are plenty of TV shows, or at least cartoons I know, that they'll often use that as a dramatic effect, of changing the aspect ratio, and so when there's something more dramatic happening, they, switch it down more, and so we're just used to the size changing. I am. Go on.
I mean, I didn't have, comparing to say, Avengers, I didn't have as many plot point issues. I thought it was well scripted, well thought out.
The Dark Knight Rises was a better movie than The Avengers. Hands down. It was just simply a better movie.
We'll see if the ticket prices show that, too.
Is it making more money than The Avengers?
I don't know yet. I haven't tried to
The
understand.
Avengers was a good movie. It was a really good movie. It was a great movie, but the problem is that it was just a comic book movie. It was a really good comic book movie, but it was just a comic book movie. Christopher Nolan's Batman movies are really good movies that just happen to involve a comic book character. It really isn't even like watching your standard comic book action movie. It's just like watching, and this one especially, The Dark Knight Rises especially, was, whereas the first two movies were Christopher Nolan making a Batman movie, this really was just like a Christopher Nolan movie with some Batman thrown in.
I mean, a lot of people complain that, Batman Begins was all about plot and character development, not much action, and Dark Knight was all about action, not really much character and plot development, whereas this is a nice mix of both, I felt.
I don't know. I thought they all had a nice mix of both. Really. I mean, I'm never sitting there bored with
I mean, a lot of people were also
Batman Begins or anything. I mean, you do get into like where it's a whole hour before you ever see Batman, but it's an important hour.
Yeah.
It's not like the same with the Amazing Spider-Man where you're just sitting there going, "Oh my God, put on the costume already." Who cares that Peter Parker's a whiny little bitch? We know that. Just put on the costume. It wasn't like that, even
Well,
though
we were saying that
Bruce
about
Wayne
Smallville for 7 years, but you
even
know.
though Bruce Wayne was kind of being a whiny little bitch, but
Yeah.
it worked for him, I think, a lot. He was being a brooding, whiny little bitch.
Yeah. Brooding
Limping
is
around
different.
on a cane.
Yeah.
One thing that I also did enjoy was that I could actually sit there and pick out what comic books they got certain scenes from. Because it was very much... And if you're watching this and you haven't seen the movie, turn it off because there's going to be lots of spoilers. So
Yeah, spoilers.
Can't help ourselves, sorry.
when they were showing Bane's origin, the flashbacks of the little child, that was exactly right out of the comic book Vengeance of Bane. In fact, it was so perfect that when it turned out that the little child was Talia al Ghul and not Bane, I was pissed off because I was like, it was so perfect. Bane's origin right there, right out of the comic book, and then they went and totally perverted it and made it something that it wasn't.
Of course, when Miranda Tate and Bruce Wayne were sleeping together that first night, you know, in the mansion, John noticed
I
his
called it.
scar. He called it. It's like, yeah, she works with Bane.
What
Yeah.
scar?
Well, there was a scar on her back. But I wasn't so much saying
Like
from
And
that.
the scar on her back, and just like,
Yeah,
yeah,
he touched
she's
it.
bad. She's bad.
Well, I wasn't so much saying it for that. I was just saying, okay, you know, this is a Batman movie. He's getting romantic with her. This can't end well, you know. I mean, it's just not. And the movie just doesn't happen.
Well, that just means it can't work with Catwoman either, you know.
It never
Yes.
does work with Catwoman, though.
No.
Catwoman always ends up screwing him one way or the other.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully it's in a good way. I said that, yes.
But I liked seeing Bane actually lift Batman over his head and break him over his knee, just like in the comic books. You know, there was Alfred Quits, which is right out of the comic books. There's just so much, like, you could sit there and pick out, you know, issue by issue. They got this from that, they got that from this, they got that from this, they got this from that. And I just really enjoyed it. It's one of the truest comic book adaptations, you know, storylines that's been in a live-action movie ever.
What about the joke that we made to you over the phone about
There's some
the
days
bomb?
you just can't get rid of a bomb.
Oh, yeah.
Do you think that was possibly, maybe a little... Did that ever really happen in the comic books, or was they paying homage to the
Movie.
Adam West movie?
Yeah, I was gonna say that sounds out
Yeah,
of
Yeah.
I think they really were just at the end there with the nuclear bomb. I think it was a subtle, you know, some days you just can't get rid of a bomb moment.
Yeah, very subtle, I know.
Yeah, I mean, it's so subtle that most people probably wouldn't even pick up on it and be like, that's from the other movie, Adam West.
Yes. I didn't pick it up, David did.
Yeah, I mentioned afterwards. Wow.
Fantastic.
There was also the issue of the potential director's cut, because what, it was a half hour or something cut from the film, because the original version was like...
Was there
Even
really a
longer.
half-hour
a
cut
little
from
over,
it?
yeah,
Because
ridiculous.
that's amazing, because when The Dark Knight came out on DVD, a lot of people on DVD and Blu-ray, a lot of people bitched and bitched and bitched that there's no deleted scenes on the Blu-ray. What's wrong with you? There's no deleted scenes. And Christopher Nolan pretty much said there's no deleted scenes in the movie, in the DVD, because there are no deleted scenes. Pretty much everything we shot for the movie was in the movie.
When they wanted to make it a lot
So
worse.
that's amazing that
That's
they
good.
cut it out. And yeah, I wonder if there will be a director's cut.
Well, apparently it wasn't screening well with audiences. It was taking too long. Apparently the half hour was just like, you know, filler or something. I don't know.
I don't know. If it's not important stuff to the movie, then they probably won't put it in and make a director's cut. They'll probably just have deleted scenes finally on a Batman movie.
Yeah.
But, I mean, if it's anything like, you know, Watchmen, where the 3.5 hour director's cut is way better than the 2.5 hour theatrical cut, then, you know, right on.
You want me to comment about his voice, Bane's voice?
Bane's voice, we can do that now, yeah.
I thought it was fine. I mean, it sounded a little cartoonish. I didn't have a problem understanding his dialogue.
There are a few
The only
scenes-
thing that I thought was it would be kind of, cool if it had been James Earl Jones doing the voice. But, that's just me.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, he sounded very, like, it was sort of like a British accent in
Almost
English.
British. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tom Hardy's British.
Okay, well, there you go. Yeah, there you go.
I
But for some reason, it didn't seem as menacing,
actually thought it sounded like he was trying to do a South American accent, which Bane is supposed to be South American. That's what I thought. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he wasn't trying to do that, but when I first heard him talk, that's what I thought. Now, did anybody notice that Bane seems to, his size seemed to change during the movie? Like, I don't think Tom Hardy was as big as he was ultimately supposed to get, because if you notice in the airplane, he was not as big as he was later in the movie, and I think that also might have been why he was wearing that fur coat a lot of the time.
To cover up
that he was a skinny little dork,
Mm.
that he hadn't bulked up quite as big yet.
Tell him that.
Because if you notice, though, I will when he loses weight, and goes
okay.
when he shins on again, then I'll tell him.
All right.
As long as he's Bane, I'm not gonna say anything because he'll hurt me.
Yeah. Alright, I guess we can go into Christopher Nolan's comments that third films are never really good, trying to soften the blow in terms of people who are expecting this to be a fantastic best movie ever.
The Dark Knight was a better movie, but The Dark Knight Rises is still a good movie. You shouldn't expect The Dark Knight Rises to be The Dark Knight because it's not. It's a completely different thing.
Yeah.
But it's still a worthy successor to The Dark Knight. It's just it comes right down to it. Some movies are going to be better than others.
I have to wonder if they wanted more with the Joker, but after Heath Ledger had died,
I
kind of
think
threw
the
up whole movie.
Scarecrow. I think the Scarecrow was supposed to be the Joker. I think the Scarecrow was originally written. The Joker was supposed to be the judge, and then Heath Ledger died, and then they made a big deal. We're not going to recast the Joker because originally they were saying we will bring the Joker back.
Yeah.
That's originally what they were saying. We will bring the Joker back, and then Heath Ledger died, and then they're like, well, we're not going to recast the Joker.
We're going to reanimate Heath Ledger.
And then I think, and because if you think about it, I mean, the part of the judge really is better tailored for the Joker.
Yeah.
And when they've done that, Batman on trial, like in the cartoons and stuff, it's always the Joker that's the judge.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that was originally intended to be the Joker, and then they just kind of grabbed Cillian Murphy and was like, here. But I thought that if they're going to make it the Scarecrow, he should have been wearing the mask. He should have actually been the Scarecrow, not just Cillian Murphy up there, with a gavel.
I just wanted to read you this comic here from Control-Delete. Well, DC pretty much confirmed that they will be rebooting Batman after The Dark Knight Rises. I don't know if Batman's personality can take another reboot. What do you mean? Look at the history of Batman on the screen. First, Adam West's Batman, our theoretical 0 point. A little goofy, a little campy, but overall pretty normal guy. Then Michael Keaton's Batman. He's a little more serious, and we see hints of a couple of psychological skeletons in his closet, but overall, not too tortured. Now we have Christian Bale's throat cancer Batman with his whole, I won't kill you, but I don't have to save you, super serious dark thing. At this rate, the next reboot would be 2 hours of Batman sitting in a corner, growling to himself, and twisting the heads off of newborn kittens. Well, nobody's seen his script yet. Maybe this version it was a kitten that shot Bruce Wayne's parents.
So it's you. Okay.
Alright. I think rebooting Batman is the wrong way to go. I think you just make a new movie. Have it come right out and say, this doesn't have any continuity ties with anything that's been done before. Deal with it, and then don't do Batman Begins all over again like they did with Spider-Man. Just move into this is a new movie. In fact, I'd like to see them do Robin, but not Dick Grayson.
No.
Because Dick Grayson's been done to death. Dick Grayson was in Adam West. Dick Grayson was Chris O'Donnell. Dick Grayson was in the cartoons. Dick Grayson's been done to death. I would like to see them start all over again with Jason Todd as Robin. A Robin that's never been used except for in Batman Under the Hood.
And your son.
And my middle child. And just have it that start with a new Batman, and then he sees this thug kid stealing the tires off the Batmobile, and then he makes him his partner, and then just go from there.